Hellworld, 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 goddamn motherfucking goddamn Hellworld! Ow. Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Decker Shado, the internet personality with a self-inflicted concussion. Well, we're on the 8th film now of The Summer of Hellraiser! Fuck it all! While the Hellraiser franchise wasn't pumped out on an annual basis like many other horror icons, the gap between movies did vary quite drastically from film to film. For instance, today's movie, Hellworld, came out 3 months after the last film. Yeah. Fucking months! To make matters worse, while this movie was not a spec script turned Hellraiser feature after the fact, the original story still had nothing to do with Hellraiser. The film is based off of Joel Soison's short story, Dark Can't Breathe. Come on, you mean after 9 years and 4 movies, no one at Miramax thought to maybe sit down and write a Hellraiser script? The theme the movie actually has is a cross between video game and internet culture, written by someone who has no insight to either subculture or the Hellraiser franchise in general. To top it all off, the film tries to follow the self-aware horror trope that cropped up in the 90s after such films as Scream made it popular. So we have a self-aware horror film that is completely unaware of itself and its own lore, and doesn't really represent the subcultures it totes. I know I'm not supposed to judge before I even see the movie, but damn! Well, let's take a look at my ass, because that would be better. Unfortunately, YouTube won't let me show that, so I guess we're stuck with Hellworld. Our story opens with a gamer who has gotten far too into the game, and it looks like the game is Minecraft, which is oddly fitting. But before he can finish, he is interrupted by the opening credits for the movie, or the credits for Diablo, going by the font. Well, I've got to give the movie credit where credit's due. Those are both games worth sacrificing your life for. This goes right to a funeral, which already seems very appropriate for this movie. A sparse number of mourners have gathered to witness the passing of the Hellraiser franchise's credibility. Oh, and some kids dead too. Might be a tad important. Aside from those here to pay homage to an ancient Roman torture device, the important characters are all accounted for to say goodbye to their good friend and guildmate, Adam.
Christ. How many times you had to tell a guy it's just a stupid game?
Hey, we were all addicted to Hellworld, man.
Oh, hold on. Addiction is a chemical dependency. That's why it's called game compulsion, not addiction. Game addiction doesn't really exist. I mean, unless Adam was grinding down and snorting CDs. This introduces us to our small group of important characters. Jake, the brooding emo piece of shit, who I think we're supposed to identify with, played by Christopher Jacott. Very badly researched goth, but not too goth chick, Allison, played by Anna Toput. Henry Calville as douchey jock hardcore internet gamer Mike. Chelsea, the buxom blonde hardcore MMOG game addict, played by Catherine Winnick. And Carrie Payton as Derek, the token black character with the obviously going to be important later ailment. They say on Broadway if a character ever coughs, they're pretty much guaranteed to die. Likewise in a horror movie, if your character has asthma and is black, you're pretty much as fucked as they come. Ignoring that closed casket funerals tend to be closed casket for a reason, Chelsea wants to see Adam one last time. Of course, this is a Hellraiser sequel, so we get a fake out. Fucking lovely. Then again, it says 2 years later, so maybe that did happen. Fuck it, we're 8 movies in, I don't give a shit anymore. Much like her, it seems.
What's up, Mike?
What?
Oh, it's a mask. A mask of a very well-known Cenobite. Where the fuck did he get that?
Made a grip $100 for this thing on the internet.
Oh, the internet. That explains how a supernatural dimension of sadomasochists has expanded into merchandising?
Cenobites don't exist. And even if they did, I never opened the Lamont configuration.
Lament configuration. Oh, I'm pretty sure that's the proper pronunciation. Isn't that right, Hellraiser Inferno?
It's called the lament configuration.
That's what I thought. If getting Hellraiser wrong isn't enough for you, don't worry. They fuck up the entire concept of the internet pretty badly as well.
What are you doing?
Visiting one of those annoying-ass websites that thinks background music is so Web 2.0. Said site happens to be a game in and of itself, which produces the digital lament configuration. Easiest version yet to solve, as it can be done with a few simple clicks. It also contains the worst horror of all, the film's plot! All of them solve the thing and are rewarded with an invitation to a Hellworld party.
Don't tell me you're going to Hellworld.
Hell yeah!
Allison, please, we aren't kids anymore.
It was already stupid when this movie was produced, and you already had a very large population of 20-something gamers who hadn't outgrown gaming. But now that our generation is in its 30s, and still gaming, I think it's safe to say that that argument hasn't stood the test of time.
Reality check, we should have grown out of this by now.
No, you should have asked to be in a different movie. Evidently she hasn't outgrown peer pressure, so Chelsea comes to the party just the same, which has heavy metal, gallons of alcohol, and not a soul under the age of 18.
Gratuitous tit shot.
So when are they going to try to argue that they should have outgrown breasts? Very awkwardly, Jake the Emo happens to be there as well, which makes the group worry that things will get uncomfortable fast.
Come on, guys. It's just a game. A crazy fucking internet game.
On that crazy fucking internet. You heard about the internet? It's fucking crazy. They got merchandise from hell, porn, long-haired creepy guys, and more porn. Sometimes the two of those things together. Now that we've established they're all here, it's time to introduce the considerably more important character, the host, played by Lance Henrickson.
Welcome, Hellraisers. I take it this is your first time at a Hellworld party.
Well, considering you've been going under the assumption that this is the first ever Hellworld party, probably. They don't find it odd at all that he singles the 5 of them out to get the 50-cent tour of the areas that it's clear that no other partygoers are allowed in.
Did you see this? Mr. Lamarchand himself.
Except for the fact that it doesn't look a fucking thing like Philippe Lamarchand. How do you keep fucking up your own story this bad? Lance distracts them from the obvious inconsistencies with a little booze, which Chelsea and Jake politely decline. Nevertheless, the tour continues with some history about the house.
I'm an authority on Leviathan House. Philippe Marchand's second greatest architectural achievement.
He was a toy maker. His descendant, John Merchant, was the architect. Fuck. No bother, they didn't notice. Sort of like how they don't think it's weird this man is continuing to single them out, bringing them down into the deep, dark basement, ridiculously far away from the party. It works for him as everyone is inexplicably entertained, except for Chelsea.
Thirsting for something more.
Something I believe.
About pain.
Does this at least get the body count rolling?
Adam was right.
It's a little underwhelming, but I'll accept.
You stay away from me.
I'll try to contain myself.
Fucking A! On top of that, everyone immediately forgets this blatant attack and returns to the party, introducing the ever-important cell phone and mask element to the plot, explaining that you call the number on the mask to ask the wearer for hot, kinky, anonymous, sexy time. Ignoring the fact that if you're close enough to read the number, you don't need the phone.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Please, stop! I'm trying to make it through the whole movie, you know. Ugh. Anyway, they party for a few minutes, where we learn the anonymous debauchery is considerably less anonymous as the phones have caller ID, and the killer isn't above taking advantage of just how stupid their prey is.
As if.
Why does this movie even take place in a party when it's clear that the festivities are little more than set dressing? The characters barely even acknowledge that anyone else is there. In the restricted area, Allison discovers a chair, which is obviously a trap on so many levels. So, she takes a seat. Honestly, the only thing remotely surprising about that is the fact that the black guy wasn't killed first. Lance appears out of nowhere to explain to her the trivia behind this piece, being able to bleed a human dry without decapitation.
It's perfectly safe. Unless the cutting blades are engaged. Cutting blades are engaged.
You mean Lance Henrickson was the killer all along? No, wait, shouldn't you have revealed that at like the 3rd or 4th kill? I mean, all along's been 20 minutes. That's one down, 4 to go, as Pinhead pops in to remind us all that this is a Hellraiser movie. That way, when Jake runs into Lance shortly after, it's not so out of place when the man hands him a replica of the Lamont configuration.
Is it just a game now, Jake?
Freddy Krueger wants his lines back.
Now I'm playing with power!
They suddenly disappear, leaving Jake to question reality as he witnesses Lance digging a grave out in the yard. Who cares about the plot, though? Mike has spotted Sexy Dancer 9364, and shows us all how to fail completely at the concept of anonymous copulation.
Want a party?
That's not how anonymity works. You may as well just strip down and fuck in front of everybody.
Anyone see this? Oh.
Joey, who we have seen being antisocial thus far, is suddenly very interested in social interaction. Just as luck, though, it appears that everyone in the room has secretly agreed to pretend like he's not even there, just to fuck with him. Hello? So, antisocial character's biggest fear is being ignored. That makes no fucking sense whatsoever. Par for the course for this movie. In the meantime, on the dance floor, Derek finds the only black woman in this movie so he can shake his groove thing. Before long, though, he is stricken with asthma. Generally, people who suffer from severe asthma carry a backup inhaler. Of course, this is a horror movie, and he's black. You figure it out. Likewise, Derek's luck is so bad, his one and only inhaler manages to slip down a grate that looks like it was actually too narrow to accommodate said inhaler. This leads to a long, and I mean long, scene of him stumbling down many flights of stairs. How is he not dead yet? I mean, I know he can't breathe, but he's pretty fucking active for a man that can't breathe. He eventually locates the inhaler of perseverance, but it proves to be little more than quasi-effective. So he lays down on a stretcher. You know, just so they don't have to move his body later. What the fuck? Okay, I don't care what the makeup is or who's playing him. That is not Pinhead. Decapitation is a little too, painless for his tastes. While his former guildmate is suffering from an XP penalty in the basement, Jake is lured up to the attic by a random nun for some extra holy sexy time. Oh, at last! I finally have a clip to play whenever someone mentions nun fuckery! After the nun evaporates, Chelsea calls the police, as she has been facing the horror of a locked room! Yeah, she's still in the movie. She's just been trapped in a room for the last 30 minutes. I have to say, for being a lead character, her scenes are pretty much pointless. And take this one for example. It doesn't go anywhere either. In much more important news, that fucking couple on the couch are still going at it. I am waiting to learn how this sex scene is somehow tied to the plot. I mean, they've shown it enough times that it's gotta be important. Back with Chelsea and the police, they respond to the call, but considering she claims to be in a room that they can clearly see is empty, they are less than convinced.
Definitely drugs. Probably speed or meth.
I am reasonably sure neither of those are hallucinogenic. Thus, the police leave, contributing nothing to the plot. Far more importantly, it's time for Mike to get down and dirty with his nameless hookup. I'm not being condescending. They're supposed to be having anonymous sex. It's not my fault that she took off her mask and I can't even refer to her by her number. Rather than just have sex in the room like the other nameless couple does, Mike is led down into the basement by his anonymous fuck buddy. Though things are off to a great start, the fun doesn't last. This has got to be the only time I've actually identified with a character in this movie. That's real disappointing for everyone. This happens to be the same room Derek died in, which keeps things conveniently well organized considering the variable nature of homicide. Mike has the time to stumble across his friend's corpse before meeting his own end. It's a good thing that hook was there. I mean, otherwise Pinhead might have to fall back on more traditional methods, like torturing people.
This is just the beginning.
What the fuck are you talking about? He's already dead. What are you gonna do, make douchebag casserole? Chelsea manages to finally escape from the room. Nevertheless, she races out into the surrounding woods, stumbling into a lone cop who stayed behind.
I'm at the old house.
Oh, and he's killed. Makes this scene even more pointless. Just when you think it can't get any worse. The real question here is whether Jake is calling to help save Chelsea, or for the anonymous sex. His cries for help convince Chelsea to turn around and run back to the house in an attempt to save Jake. However, turns out...
God, no, they're coming. Please don't leave me here.
Ah, so it was for the anonymous sex. Wait, Lance is like 30 years older than her. Yeah, it worked for Jack Nicholson and Wolf. And before you say you, just remember that is a better movie. They can't seem to find each other running around and screaming at random empty rooms, so Chelsea calls Jake on her cell. After they establish Jake is perfectly fine, and that a party with disappearing guests is pretty strange, the two come to a conclusion.
He's haunting us.
Not if I can help it.
The fuck are you gonna do? Call a contractor? Before he has a chance to, Chelsea runs into the recycled Chatterer Cenobite. If this isn't bad enough, she also runs into Cenolite versions of her dead friends, showing that Pinhead isn't even fucking trying anymore. These guys are less convincing Cenobites than your average shopper at Hot Topic. Even the movie's bad acting can't be bothered to give a shit. She gets a call from a private number, which shocks no one when we learn it's Lance Henrickson. Getting as frustrated as I am, Chelsea breaks the fourth wall for a bit.
Get your mythology right, buddy. First, I have to open the box. Then Pinhead appears, the hooks and chains. But none of that's happened. Why?
Because the script is shit. Even the characters can tell when nothing is done right.
It is about a box.
Oh, he's talking about her coffin. Back with Jake, he is being slowly stalked by a slinky stalker. So he stabs Chelsea in the shoulder. Somehow this kills the woman. Don't worry though, she calls him up shortly afterward.
What the fuck is going on? Who the fuck is this?
Whoa, Jake!
Telemarketers are getting rough these days. This call is just to remind us all about the crap plot and drive home some long-debunked talking points.
We knew what Hellworld was doing to Adam, but we kept on playing it.
Again, game compulsion is not game addiction. Also, gaming popularity is an all-time high. Where are all the 5-year-olds who played Mario Kart until they became serial killers?
Chelsea, when we get out of this place, I promise you the most beautiful sunrise ever.
So, IHOP? Chelsea happens upon a convenient stack of exposition, learning the truth behind their dark host. It turns out, he was Adam's father! So, that's enough plot information. The two of them run like hell outside so they can make it to the climax on time. Wouldn't you know it, the majority of this movie happened to be taking place in a psychological horror fantasy land. Oh, how original. I haven't been sitting through that plot for the last 4 movies in a fucking row. Lance shows up again to explain the plot one last time. As revenge for his son's death, Lance drugged all the main cast via spiked drink, spiked perfume, and if need be, spiked spikes. All of the deaths were the result of Lance feeding them post-hypnotic suggestions through their cell phones, which they were buried with.
There were freakouts, confessions, negotiations, orgasms.
And I just realized this means Lance had phone sex with 3 of them. Ew. Conveniently enough, everyone who died also happened to do so of natural causes.
Allison severely gouged herself trying to claw for her imaginary neck device and bled to death.
It's not like screaming for help did her much good.
Derek's asthma came out.
Well, he should have been buried with his inhaler. If not, you should have seen this coming, Lance.
And Mike, he died of good old-fashioned drop-dead fear.
There's no such thing as dying from fear. There's cardiac arrest. Thus ends his villain rant, and we cut to the police digging Chelsea up out of the ground, alive and hysterical. Jake lived through the experience as well, but the others are indeed long gone.
How'd you find us? Who made the call?
Traced the signal right to this very spot. Your cell phone was found up at the house. Maybe the owner made the call, but I doubt it.
The movie seems to be implying that the caller was Adam. I have my own theory, though.
Hello? Oh, sir?
I think there are some people buried in the back of the mansion. Maybe you should go check that out. Thank you. Oh yeah, baby.
It seems that Lance managed to elude the cops, but don't feel too bad about that. He still has to contend with the last Hellraiser bit that this fucking piece of shit film threw in. He solved the thing backwards! How do you fuck up Hellraiser this bad? Well, there's the fact that he was killed instead of tortured. And also, I don't think Pinhead would leave a room quite that messy. I mean, he's got a reputation to uphold. At least he did before this piece of shit. And at last, Jake gets to show Chelsea the sunrise he promised her. I'd also like to think they're on their way to IHOP as well.
Hello, Chelsea.
Wait, what the fuck just... How did that... What in the... You know, fuck it. Who cares? The movie's over. That's it. That was Hellraiser Hellworld. It's a piece of garbage. Communist garbage! Well, that might not make sense, but neither did this film. The concept is sound, but the execution was abhorrent. It seriously feels like every last thing this movie tried to reference it got horribly wrong. The internet, for example, is played as a strange mystical realm of cyberspace where geeky things happen because internet! The biggest problem here is the film came out in 2005, around the same time as the Xbox 360. The internet was not a strange alien place, it was very much at the heart of mainstream society at this point. Secondly, the circle of friends were supposedly super hardcore gamers, so hardcore that it took one of their lives. And how are games represented? Well, they aren't. The only thing we get is the umpteenth speech about how games are addicting and they drive you crazy. Things that were already debunked before this movie came out, and with the thousands of studies all showing no causal link between violent games and violent behavior, yeah, it's pretty stupid. Finally, and more dreadful, is the manner in which the film depicts Hellraiser itself. This felt like it wasn't even in the same timeline as the other films, more like an alternate universe. But besides that, Pinhead and the Cenobites didn't behave a fucking thing like themselves. They only actually show up right at the end, but even then it's just to perform generic slasher behavior and not the torture they're known for. Not to mention, plenty of shit simply didn't make sense in this movie, like how did he drug and bury everyone when only 3 were drugged initially, and it took a damn long time before he got the last 2, but no one noticed. The knockout effect of the drug is conveniently plot-dependent? I could go on, but we really need to wrap this up. Overall, Hellraiser Hellworld is horrendous. The concept is generic, and the manner in which it's pulled off is downright offensive to everything involved. The only silver lining is Lance Henrickson, who is mildly entertaining to watch and gives his lines reasonably well, but this piece of shit still ranks at 1 low-calorie Cenolite out of 5. I really don't think I can take much more of this. I mean, Summer of Seagal was bad, but it doesn't even have the entertainment value of figuring out how Seagal never got hurt. I mean, there's only Revelations left, but fuck, I need to take a break. I just can't. It's just in time for the Patreon plug review. That's convenient. Thank you all for watching. I've been Shado, and remember, it's just a game. Therefore, it has rules, and you do not fuck them up!
Well, maybe you shouldn't have blown me off.